Hello friends, this is Dr. Mateen with a simple video on 10 simple and effective e-presentation tips. Now, you have slogged all night to prepare for the presentation. You have had your teamwork, come up with a very good presentation, and then you had a good presentation. But unfortunately, you got a B grade. Now, before you throw away your laptop infestation, here are the 10 simple e-presentation tips you can follow for having effective presentations. We'll be starting with the purpose of the presentation, why you are the key part of the presentation, simple layout strategies, how to structure, start, and capture key information without overdoing, use simple things like bullets and images to get your messages across, and summarize in the end. Of course, we'll be showing you how to be yourself and make a powerful impact. Let's begin with the first tip, clear purpose. Imagine the presentation has a purpose. The professors or teachers who have given you the task give a specific purpose. For example, it's a global health issue. If the topic is related to a specific disease, talking about etiology, pathophysiology, treatment, the presentation has to match the purpose. But in this case, if you take up a global health issue as an international issue, we usually talk about diverse patient population, changing disease patterns, and how culture impacts the disease. So this becomes the crux of the clear purpose of how what your presentation should be about. Let's talk about a specific example like asthma, and we apply this to the global health aspects. We can talk about etiology of asthma for 1 hour, prevention of asthma, treatment of asthma, etc. But since our purpose here is to talk about the international aspects, we talk about diversity, socioeconomic impact on the disease, cultural aspects of the disease in relation to its causes and treatment, etc. A good place to start for this is the WHO fact sheet, which gives us some key facts. Here is what are the key facts for asthma. Imagine asthma is a communicable disease. We know that there is a pathophysiology aspect. Wow, asthma affects 262 million people. That's a big number with 455,000 deaths. That's very interesting aspects. Now, something about medication. Oh, triggers of asthma. It's very common in low and middle income countries. Global aspects. Why would that be? What are the causes? What are the reasons for underdiagnosis of asthma? Are there any social factors, cultural factors, economic factors? Is it the healthcare system? Under treatment, same thing goes. Patient factors, education factors. All these factors will become your international aspects. Disease, why is it prevalent in certain places in the world? Even in the same place, why? What are the factors which are causing increase and decrease in the prevalence of asthma? And of course, WHO fact sheet does talk about the global burden of the diseases and what are the global programs, right? Well, there is also on the same website talking about impact of asthma. It's very important. Globally, it can cause a lot of morbidity, even mortality, so reducing the quality of life. Yes, sleep disturbances, tiredness, there are a lot of things related to the disease itself, which has a international ring to it. These things need to be brought in. Well, causes wise here, yes, it's very common in siblings. Why is that? We need to expand on that. There are other conditions associated with that. Why is that? Urbanization is associated with this. What is the real impact of lifestyle factors? Infections. Well, this becomes the key aspects for what are called as the periphery of the disease, not exactly the center of the disease, the mechanism, etc. Although you might talk about that as well. Next, oh, there is a WHO response. World is doing something for the countries where it's more prevalent. This makes a good gist of what your presentation should be about. That brings me to the second part, that you are the presentation. Remember, there are points on the slide, but you make them come alive. We are not just there sitting to read the points or see that you only read the points. You actually should be the presenter. You should know a lot more about what's on the slide than us. That brings me to the third thing. What should be on the slide? A simple layout. Visit google.com, yahoo.com. You might see a simple search engine, a black text on a white background, and that's a billion or $1 trillion website for you. So simple layout is very, very useful. Have a look at this. Rule of three. Very simple layout with an image and some bullets, helping you understand the concept without too much distractions of flashy images or text which is in multiple colors, etc. Good structure wins. Whenever you plan something, here's a good quote from Dale Carnegie. He tells, tell the audience what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you have said. Very simply, you start with the presentation in terms of what the presentation is about, then tell the entire presentation, the main topics, and tell what you told them in terms of summary. We'll come back to that, but a good structure means it's very simple. It's about telling the audience, I'm going to deal with the socio-economic impact of asthma, why asthma happens in certain age groups and certain geography, and what are the things being done to overcome this. And then you summarize. Start with a bang. Yes, of course, you should start with something which creates an curiosity among the audience. A simple way I find is statistics. You should tell about the statistics of a particular disease or a particular problem, and then definitely the ears stand up. Capture key information in your presentation. For example, here we are talking about diversity, socioeconomic, and cultural aspects. So you need to capture these three things. Peripherally, you might talk about pathophysiology of asthma. You might talk about why asthma happens, the macro and the microscopic picture, how the disease progresses. Maybe one slide for this information is sufficient because you need to give a context to the disease as well. But your majority of the presentations, even if you have a 12-slide presentation, 10 slides or 8 to 10 should be on these key aspects. One or two can be about causes of asthma, pathophysiology. One can be about the treatment protocols, if that is an additional information. But you cannot miss the key information. That brings me to an interesting thing. Don't overdo. Now, if you look at a slide like this, don't be surprised. We do see slides like this, multiple images, multiple text, and at the same time, the presenter is talking to us. People are busy looking at this slide because they are just engaged what is on the slide, and you are just talking. That doesn't create a good impression because you cannot get your message across. Simple version of doing this is to have bullets. See, bullets are cool. You can just have two, three, four bullets, talk about a particular concept, use a particular images, and that is sufficient to get your message across. Lastly, you should always summarize. See, when you summarize, for example, you say, here is what you learned today in the last 10-15 minutes, it becomes much easier to have a take away message. So you should always have a take away message at the end. Neuroscience tells that whatever is spoken about in the initial part of the presentation and in the last part of the presentation, we have got the memory, or these are the memory capacity to remember these things is much higher. So let's use it and summarize. Lastly, be yourself. You got a unique style, you got a unique way to present, you have your motion across the board, the way you walk, all these makes you different. So use that. Don't try to have a standard set of protocols followed by experts. You are the voice, you are the presenter. And when you follow these 10 tips step by step, and as you progress towards them, towards a simple, effective presentation, I can assure you that you're going to have a good message to be taken across by the audience, including the people who assess you. All the best.